Alright, welcome to Chapter 16, which is Grafting and Budding. So your learning targets for today are discuss the benefits of grafting for growers, explain the requirements for successful grafting, describe the techniques for different grafting methods, explain how to propagate a plant asexually via budding, and then list careers related to grafting and budding. Alright, benefits of grafting. You can basically take any plant and cut it and make it grow on another plant, which is kind of cool. So grafting is a horticultural technique that joins together two different plants or plant parts so they grow as one plant. It joins the scion of one plant with the rootstock of another. So the scion is a young shoot or twig of a plant, often used for the upper portion of the graft, and budding, a type of grafting in which a single bud is taken from one plant and grown on another plant. And it'll be genetically identical to the plant of origin. Some benefits, they allow growers to change varieties or cultivars, optimize the cross-pollination, use quality rootstock, increase clones, produce certain plant forms, and then repair damaged plants. And this one you can see they have two different plants growing together on the same rootstock. It's a cherry tree with multiple cultivars. You have Bing and Rainier growing together on that same tree. So for successful grafting, they have to have rootstock and scion compatibility, vascular cambia alignment, proper timing, graft union protection, and then post-graft care. And if you look at this image, it looks like it's got something sticky on it. It's secured with tape and wire and sealed to prevent drying out and water seeping in. So that's that protection piece. So timing of it, you want to do it in an inactive season. Field or orchards grafted in place, container plants moved indoors, and then they can do some bench grafting. And that's an apricot tree with a healing graft in the picture. So selection of the scion wood should be high quality wood from previous season's shoots. Tools must be sharp and regularly cleaned and sterilized. They also use clean, moistened burlap or plastic bags for scion materials to keep them the right moisture level. This is an example of whip and tongue grafting. You can see this kind of like a lightning bolt shape, how they've cut it and stuck it together. They took 2 notches in scion cut to match. They do this a lot for nursery crops and ornamentals. It's used with small material. Here's just another image of how they did that. And there's splice grafting, and I'm kind of going through some of these slides a little bit more quickly because you guys are going to do some stuff with grafting on your own as well. So that's a simple, for splice, it's a simple diagonal cut. Same length and angle of cuts. The scion and rootstock are placed on top of each other. They also call it whip grafting, used in herbaceous material and some woody materials. So there's an example of the splice grafting here and how it's done. And obviously they're going to secure them so it forces them to grow together. Cleft grafting, so used to topwork trees and scaffold branches. This is actually a grafted mango tree in the picture here. That allows changes to varieties of fruit trees in existing orchards, enables propagation of difficult species, and repairs damaged plants. So top working, you can graft a new scion material onto older established orchard trees. So here is some images of how they do that, and that's a clefting tool, that fancy looking little, they have a knife here and a mallet. They're basically going to pound down into that rootstock and then insert those, basically they made it look like a toothpick at the end of it. They cut them to make them look like that. And they can seal with wax or paint. Moving on, they have wedge grafting. The scion is cut into a V shape and the rootstock cut to form the V shape. And they'll do bark slipping. So you can see that in the image here, what they're going to do to make the wedge grafting. Saddle grafting is the next one. The scion is cut into a saddle shape. It sits on top of rootstock, hand done or grafting machine. Diameters of material should be similar. So you can see there's a saddle graft here. And they insert the SCION. And then there's securing once again. Hole insertion grafting, HIG. Gotta love a good acronym. This is used on herbaceous material, rootstock growing point removed. They'll make a hole under the top of the plant, and then the SCION cut into a wedge shape and inserted into the hole. So here's the image of that. This is kind of delicate stuff compared to the other things that they have shown you because it's used on young plants. The SCION is they're going to cut below the cotyledons with a razor at a 45-degree angle to make this work. And then there's bark grafting. The SCION is placed where the bark and wood separate in rootstock, used in top work, used in variety change, used to repair damaged wood, and often a weak graft. So you can see it's on that very outer edge within the bark, so it's kind of a challenging one to do. So bark grafting, they have to secure the graft, cover all the surfaces with a sealant, and allow strongest graft to grow and prune away all the others. So you kind of have to eliminate the other ones, or it's going to take away from that plant. This next one is bridge grafting. Damaged tissue is removed from a plant. SCIONs are inserted to provide support. They're also going to reconnect vascular tissue and use to repair the injury. So this is basically, you can tell, somebody rammed this thing with a lawnmower. And as it grows, you can see some of that damage is showing up higher up on the tree too. So this is what it looks like. It kind of looks like some sort of funky cutting on a tree, but that's what they're going to do to that rootstock piece. This is part of the bridge grafting here. That's the SCION that they're going to add to it. And they're going to insert the SCIONs, and they're going to secure the graft. So they're going to basically tack them in place. They're going to put them every 2 to 4 inches on this one. INARCH grafting, similar to bridge grafting, they support damaged plant stem. They use bark or bridge method and graft the SCION tip above the injury. So you can see this one's a little bit different, but they're going to basically shove it underneath that upper piece of bark and then tack it in place. This one is spliced approach grafting. They're basically joining 2 different plants together, and they're used for plants that are difficult to graft. Honestly, they're 2 separate rooted plants. That's what that flower pot here is trying to show you. They seal them with wax. There's the tongue approach. So this one's a little bit, it looks really similar except for they did that slice here. They're adding them together, doing the same concept. Once again, looks similar, but this one's the inlay. They're going to tack them together this time. SIDE-VENEER grafting. Flap of bark is removed from the side of the plant. The rootstock selected from dormant plant material. SCIONs attached to the cut area. And then it's typically done on potted plants. So you can see this one, the SIDE-VENEER grafting, they're going to take, they cut this, they'd cut the SCION to match, they're adding it together, they're going to go ahead and secure them together. Excuse me. Budding is used, uses only a single bud from the SCION, will not scar parent plant in current growing season or dormancy. Done when bark is slipping faster than other methods, and it requires budwood. Patch budding, this is for ornamental trees, shrubs, and fruit. With thick bark, they prepare the stalk, they prepare the SCION, and then they insert it, then they're going to secure it. And you guys have noticed that repeating throughout. They're always going to do those 3 steps to it. This one here, I like that they have live images finally. Is chip budding, commonly used on grapevines in the fall. They're going to go ahead and prepare the rootstock and the SCION, so there you can see there's the bud there. And they're going to make sure that bud sticks out when they do the grafting so that it can continue to grow. This one's T-budding. Basically, they're going to take and cut here, cut down this line. They're going to slip that cambia layer or the SCION into it. They're going to, once again, go ahead and wrap it. They're going to secure it, making sure that that bud is sticking out. Some tips when you do this. Wash your hands. You can always transfer bacteria, especially if you were working with other things in the greenhouse setting or outside. Wash your tools, clean your work area. Do not touch the interior. So when you make that cut, try not to touch the inside piece that's going to be attached to the other plant. Do not put the buds down. Work quickly and efficiently, and do not cover the buds because you're just going to suffocate it. It's not going to grow as well. And also make sure you do your research that you're using compatible plants. If the plants are not related to one another, they're not going to grow it all together. And you have to make sure to align the cambia. So those are some tips for you. Your career connection, they talk about agricultural communications. These are people that really like to write. They want to work with many people. Maybe they want to work for some sort of journal. A lot of times a bachelor degree in communications or marketing is preferred. And also if you're interested, get a job. Like if you're looking at agricultural communications, get a job working with some sort of media that deals with agriculture, and you'll have kind of a leg up on your competition. Assistant vineyard manager. First of all, go to California. I'm just kidding. This one's going to be harder to come by because it's harder to grow grapes. They're going to be working a lot with grapes in a vineyard. There's a lot of pruning, irrigation management, and harvest that would take place. You might have to supervise field crews. You might have to work with other personnel, and you'd want to have a lot of experience and knowledge about horticulture, and possibly try to work for a vineyard before you decide that, hey, that's the job for me. So that is your chapter 16, grafting and budding. You guys will have another project to do that. You're going to pick one of those buds or grafts that you're going to go through and explain further. So thank you for listening. That was chapter 16.